kidding me?
This, my crazy bushcrafting friends, can happen to anyone. Today we're going to look at some examples of how we can take care of this in case it happens, because let's face it, if you have cut enough firewood in your life, sooner or later you're going to make a minor mistake and your saw blade is going to get hung up in the kerf or the cut that you're making. So we got to be able to handle that, because if we're in the back country and we only have one saw blade with us and it gets jammed and we break it, we might be in deep trouble. Okay, so you can see right here, there's a saw cut in the wood. Now, depending on where the weight of the tree is laying, let's just say that there is no support on one side. As we saw, that kerf is going to open up, just like this. But if there was weight out to this side pushing upward as we cut down, we remove the strength there, that saw kerf can close down extremely tightly. Same thing goes for a tree standing in this direction. As we remove the material, the tree can either fall away, opening up that kerf more and allowing our saw to continue to cut, or it can squeeze shut and pinch our saw really, really tightly. So this, my friends, is saw kerf. Saw kerf. The stuff you gotta deal with when you watch my videos. Unreal. Okay, so my saw is stuck in the tree. How are we gonna handle this? Now, with a small tree like this, by all means, you might just be able to get behind it and give it a pull enough to open up that and push it away with your other hand. But if you're dealing with larger lumber, that might not be a possibility. You might just not have the strength or manpower to be able to pull that tree back in order to get your saw free, so you're gonna have to do something else. And that something else is going to be the same as setting up your ridgeline. We are going to utilize a trucker's hitch to gain more leverage in our advantage in order to pull this tree back and safely remove our saw without breaking the blade. So just imagine you're cutting this tree down, you get your saw blade jammed in there, you get out your either heavy hank of rope, or you can get out your ridgeline that you utilize for your shelter, and just simply as high as you can reach, set that first part against the tree itself. Okay, so nice and high. I'm going to just move it down just a little bit for this demo. There we go. Again, smaller tree, demo, it's going to work out better. Now we're going to just take this as we would normally take any hank of line that we're putting up a ridge line, and we're just going to run it to our second tree. Now, just like we're setting up our ridge line, I'm going to tie that trucker's hitch. I'm going to feed my line through, and that is going to give us the mechanical advantage we need in order to get more leverage on this tree. So it's all set up and in place. Now we just have to apply the force. Now what's really nice about this is I can just apply a little force at a time, and I can tie it off the same way that we would our ridge line. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I can come back here, and you can see with just a little bit of work, I got my saw free. Now listen, what's important to understand here is not that Dan used a really small tree and kept the rope real low and didn't have to put a lot of pressure on. It is the technique that we're teaching, okay? So again, bigger lumber, this is gonna work really, really well for you, because you can put a ton of force on this thing in order to get that tree to start to pull back. The higher you can get this, the more angle you can get this at, the better it's going to work to free up your saw blade. And then that way, you have your saw blade for the rest of your trip. It's not destroyed, it's not cracked, because I can say firsthand that I've already had this get pinched in very large lumber, and I broke a saw blade doing this. It just popped it right in half. No good, saw blade totally shot. All right, so my saw blade is stuck again. Same scenario, but rather than vertical, now we're dealing with something horizontal. And this happens probably more than the vertical piece, but it's important to show both. So it's stuck. What are we gonna do? We gotta open up this kerf. Now, one thing people think right away is they're just gonna deadlift this thing, okay? Sometimes that'll work. The problem with that though is not only you have to deadlift this, but now you have to hold this in place one-handed and pull out your saw with the other, or try to kick it out, and sometimes the pinch towards the top is tighter than down towards the bottom, so it's just not the best method. So I'm going to show you right now how I would approach this if I were you. And this thing, my friends, is the answer. Okay, so I didn't cut this. It wasn't like I had a second saw. This was broken. I had to just go find it. You can see the end is all beat up. So we're gonna just use this as a lever in order to gain some mechanical advantage against this log. So you're seeing this common theme that we can't just utilize our strength to do this. We need to use our strength plus a mechanical advantage in order to free this up both ways. So grab a log, something that's sturdy enough that's not going to bend under the weight of the log that you're cutting, and simply just wedge it underneath and then drive it up forward. This is going to allow this to get placed on your shoulder, give you a free hand to get your saw out. You never want to get to the point that you're struggling with your saw. Open up that kerf enough that the saw comes out easily. And just like that, my saw is recovered. I can go back to cutting wood and not making the same old mistakes that got me in that situation in the first place. All right, so that's today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, more tools for the toolbox. As always, check us out at Coalcracker, for all our schooling, classing, merchandising. I know they're not even words, but you get my point. Till next video, stay in the woods.